guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fins Faithful podcast. Thanks for joining us on this 3-Wide Wednesday as we're going to discuss, is it too early to hit the panic button? Yes, it's only been one game, but we're going to go over some things. And also, I'm going to tell you some things after I finish watching the All-22, some things that concern me with Tua going forward. You're going to want to stick around for that. Plus some McDaniel comments on Darren Waller that just irked me today, among other things. We'll get to the latest injuries and all that stuff. Of course, we're live with you guys on YouTube, so make sure, as you can see on the bottom right, the icons, the thumbs up, drop those likes, the little bell, subscribe button, the little curved arrow is to share the episode. We appreciate all the support. All right, so enough of me talking. Let me bring in the guys that are going to be joining me, of course, as always, my co-host and co-pilot Jason Sarney, but we have a very special guest on this 3-Wide Wednesday. We have co-host of the Crowder, Hawk and Solana show from WQAM, Alejandro Solana, among other things he does. Thank you guys, and thank you, Alejandro, for giving some time this evening. Welcome.
Yeah. Yes, sir. I wish I was joining on following better results, but I've done a couple shows with Jason in the past, and we're right back at it, Jason, aren't we?
Oh,
right back
it's
to
new season, same old story.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys, man.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on, and thank you. All right, so I kind of want to start here before we get into some questions. I mentioned at the top here, I watched the last show. I told you I watched the first half of the All-22. I got to the second half, wasn't any prettier. I just want to say this. The rookie class wasn't their best performance, right? Actually, out of all the rookies, Dante Trader Jr. was probably maybe the most impressive, left the biggest impression on them. But I still believe in this class. They're on a scholarship. It's their first NFL year. But their best players were bad in that game. With the exception of Patrick Paul was excellent, which is a good sign. Maybe Aaron Brewer. Zach Sealer was awful. He was being moved around. Tyrell Dotson, I don't know how Dotson got a over 70 PFF grade. He missed a ton of run lanes and tackles. Even Minkah Fitzpatrick, who they're counting on, wasn't at his best. And Tua was really bad. Like, we watched the game, the broadcast, he was really bad. And there's a few things on film that we're going to get to in the show. Like I said, you want to stick around. That has me concerning going forward with Tua. The secondary, they look like they woke up and played zone coverage for the first time in their career. There was miscommunications. There was mistakes everywhere. Storm Duck was lost on every play, including a few big ones that cost scoring touchdowns. And one thing about Tua, again, is he doesn't throw the ball. He's not throwing the ball downfield. And there's opportunities there. And I'm going to discuss why and how those opportunities need to be taken advantage of going forward in the show. But most importantly, this team was not prepared. I mentioned the mental mistakes that were all over the field on both sides of the football. This is the tape. After I watch the tape, this is tape you want to burn and throw away. Okay, now it's up to them to see how they respond. But we talk about panic button. Guys, we'll talk about that. But I'm not hitting the panic button. I'm punching through it. My hand hurts. Players don't respect McDaniel. It's something Jason, I mentioned to you when I went to training camp. I kept my eye specifically on him and how he interacted with players and how the players interacted with him. They just looked at him. We call him the substitute teacher. They just kind of brush him off like a little brother. And you see that. This is not, this is clearly a reset coming. The Mike McDaniel experiment is over. To me, it's not if, it's just when. Jason, I'll hand it off to you.
Well, I agree. And I'm going to lateral it to our guest, Mr. Solana. Let's stick with the Colts game for a minute before we actually turn the page. What's your reaction or overreaction to that? And are you joining George in smashing that panic button right now?
Yeah, I mean, look, here's how it was. And everything George said, I think you summed it up perfectly, right?
Yeah.
I don't think anybody would disagree that the Dolphins did not look prepared. And I don't think anybody would be able to go back, watch the tape, and find ways that Tua had positive moments, even the offensive line. Like, I get certain guys get graded out, and maybe some of the performances for specific guys. You mentioned Minkah, you mentioned Sealer, Maybe the results end up being a bit exacerbated because of how bad as a unit everybody was. But when you're that bad, when you underperform as badly as the Dolphins did on both sides of the football, it doesn't matter. Like, we could go back, find 3 or 4 plays, put a montage together of, maybe Zach Steeler did push the line a little bit better and did penetrate the offense. Like, who cares, right? It didn't produce results. And ultimately, you got your face bashed in an important game. But here's how I approach game one. I know there was a lot of talk. Is it a must win? Tobin from QAM was calling it not a must win, but a gotta have it. And on Friday, we discussed, like, what are legitimate expectations, reasonable expectations for this Dolphins team. Here's how I approached it on our pregame show. I don't think the Miami Dolphins are an elite football team. I don't think the Miami Dolphins are a team that was vying for an opportunity to go contend for the Super Bowl. And I was hoping I was wrong. I thought the Dolphins were, as many people did, by the way. This is not an original thought by me. Like, I realize that. They were an okay to an above average football team. 7, 8, 9, hopefully 10 wins. Ceiling was 10, maybe 11 if everything broke right. And guys, here's what happened. When you're just an okay football team, you lose to teams that are significantly worse than you, right? We've seen this across football. Good football teams can compete with great football teams, but oftentimes they lose to mediocre to bad football teams. Like, that's why the parity in the league is set up the way it is. But I didn't expect a catastrophic loss. I think that's what we got. So to answer your question, Jason, I was taken aback, not that the Dolphins lost the game, but that they couldn't execute anything. Tua, healthy as this team was probably going to be, looked as bad as he's looked in a long time, going back to that Christmas Day game in 2022 when he was concussed against the Packers. And nothing made you believe in this team outside of D. Eskridge and a couple solid returns and the special teams looking solid. Like, if you want that takeaway, nothing made you say, hey, they can harp on this. They can grab a hold of this and turn things around. That to me is the concerning part, because I don't think they're going to get blown out by New England. I don't think they're going to lose, 17 games this season. I think this team is too top heavy, but can they get back to running the football? Can they avoid the mounting injuries that's plagued this franchise now, especially in the McDaniel era? I don't know. Can Tua get back to completing passes over 30 yards to Tyreek Hill? Can they establish that run game to open up the areas on the field where they can go and expose defenses? Truthfully, I don't know. And nothing Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts gave you any modicum of hope or belief that they can accomplish those things. That's why I think the fan base is reeling. It's not that they lost. We've suffered bad, miserable losses before. It's that there's nothing to grab a hold of to give you faith. And that is a scary place to be right now if you're the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, so I agree with you. Yeah, so and when I watched too, the offensive line, I'm going to get into some advanced Tua stats when we get on him, but the offensive line gave him time. Like, there's some misconception, like, pockets are not always going to be clean. You're going to get hit. You're going to have to make plays. And I think that's one of the concerning thing with Tua is, and I said, with the exception of Patrick Paul played well. Like, that's the encouraging sign. But if you go 1 to 10, I'm going to ask both of you guys, where's the panic level right now? Where are you at? Jason, we'll go with you. 1 to 10.
9.3.
Yeah.
I'm going my Dave Portnoy pizza review score.
That's a high score then. That's a high score.
That's a high score.
All right, I'll give you one of those too. I'd say my panic meter's at 7.5 because this was a make or break year. But let's be honest, guys, and even the most optimistic Dolphins fans would probably agree with this statement. The roster was never indicative of a Super Bowl contender. It just wasn't going into the year. So as much as that was a absolute horrendous start to week one, the worst case scenario other than Tua going down, I can't be full on panic mode because, man, do things switch real quick in the NFL. And if the Dolphins beat the Patriots, at home. They're favorites going into that game. They beat the Patriots at home. You're 1-1, right? Like, I just think they go right back to where we expected them to be.
I do agree with you. I think there's a chance here that I think there's a good chance. Things are lined up for us to beat the Patriots, in my opinion. Even though I actually think it's the opposite. Everybody's like, oh, it's doomsday. I actually like their chances. I think, Gonzalez is going to be hurt. Like, you're getting the New England Patriots early on, because Vrabel worries me. They've never beat Vrabel, but you're getting them early on, Alejandro.
So, and I don't know if we'll dive into it a little bit later. I would agree with you, right? Like, things kind of are lined up for you to go beat New England. You're at home. It's week 2. They're coming off a loss. They have a new head coach, Drake May. He's the new darling up in the East Coast, but in the Northeast Coast. But like, he's looked good at times, but didn't look great in the second half of the day. But here's what I will say: the Dolphins' biggest weakness, we would all agree, is the secondary. That got worse losing Storm Duck, and hopefully Anthony Weaver can figure out some way to scheme up maybe a simple defensive scheme, or just try to get guys in more comfortable positions. That's the hope. Can he do that from week 1 to week 2? I don't know. Drake May attempted 46 passes the other day against Las Vegas.
That won't happen again. I
hope not. I hope not, because I'm not saying Drake May is Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes, but clearly they're not afraid to throw the football. And against the Dolphins right now, it's the last thing you want for teams to have that confidence that they can just go and pick your secondary apart.
Yeah, I think if they throw it, if he throws it plus 40 times, I think we win that game. I think you're going to see the Jets. I think their game plan is going to start running heavy. Well, I mean the Jets, the Patriots, but we'll get to that. Go ahead, Jason.
No, we'll definitely touch on the Patriot matchup a little bit more, but I want to bring up the cliche term, and I hate to do it, the whole culture, the toughness, the identity. Is that just like a sham right now, or just how unprepared do you think that they were, and how much of a word salad were all these just adjectives that just are not coming to fruition?
Yeah, I hate the idea that Mike McDaniel, because he's not Dan Campbell, right? Like, he's not the prototypical, stereotypical NFL head coach, that he's just lost the locker room. Like, that's the way that this is all being perceived now. Like, that's it. He's lost the locker room. But I don't know, man. Like, I work with a former NFL player who seems to think that that's a big deal, who seems to really put a lot of stock, Channing Crowder, into an NFL head coach who can command respect just with the way that he approaches conversations and just with the way he responds to adversity. And look, I've never been in an NFL locker room, and I'm not the manliest dude in the world, right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm filled to the absolute brim with testosterone. Like, I don't need somebody in my face yelling at me and belittling me to motivate me. But maybe in certain situations, like, it matters a little bit more than we think it does. He offered that information about guys skipping out on meetings. I think that was the biggest misstep about all this. But you did have a player who quit on you a season ago, and a hugely important game in week 1. That's how your players respond. Look, in 2023, there wasn't a single one of us saying McDaniel doesn't have a culture established. McDaniel struggles with the culture in the locker room because they were winning. This is one of those things that spirals when you're losing, you're not winning. I get that, but it's probably both things. Like, he doesn't have his guys prepared, which is why the results look as bad as they do and have for the past couple months or past couple games. And also, like, maybe guys just are losing belief that he's the right guy for the job. And that's where you're seeing the culture kind of shift in the locker room. Again, I'm not in the locker room. I don't know. But I traveled with the team in 2022 and 2021, and the vibes were way different in the final year of the Flores era on the team plane than the first year of the McDaniel era on the team plane. I could tell you that much. It was a different ballgame traveling with that team. Just the vibes on the plane, the way players kind of were just happy to be there. And part of it is the Dolphins didn't have a losing record the first year of Mike McDaniel. I get that. And they started the season 1-7 with Flo his last year. Like, I get that factors into it.
Probably not the best comparison, right? But,
yeah, probably not.
I think you made a point on McDaniel that I want to touch on. I think that first season, right, he came in, kind of established, wow, this is different. I think it was the whole contrast of Flo to him. Players embraced it. I always said there's got to be a fine line, Solana, that fear and respect. I just don't think the players fear him or respect him. And in this environment, there has to be some level of that. Like me and you, we don't like guys in our face. If we're working our regular job, we don't want a guy in our with their, grabbing our face mask and yelling at us. There's no need for that. In this business, there's got to be a little bit of fear and a little bit of respect. And I think it's just worn out. And you said the results are not producing. So maybe they're don't respect them. I mean, look what Bradley Chubb said a few times. He said in training camp about, we just didn't respect him enough. I'm thinking, if your players are admitting that, that's the problem there.
Bradley Chubb should just
he's
settle
too honest,
down.
Man.
Right, Bradley Chubb, because he says that comment this year in training camp. He goes, yeah, like last year we talked about being tougher, but we were just talking about it. We weren't being about it. And the funny part is he wasn't even playing last season. So how would he really be able to know? Yeah. And then this year, after that awful game, he's like, we didn't know what we were doing out there. The defense was just kind of making things up as we go along. And it's like, hey, that's not really helping Bradley. Like maybe just tone it back a little with the honesty. We appreciate it, but tone it back a little bit. I look, I know it's the easy take to have. This is something we've discussed a million times. The easy take to have. Things are spiraling. You have the off the field issues with Tyreek. He quits on the team. You have ex-players taking shots at Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins culture and just the Dolphins in general. So it's an easy take to have. Easy take. McDaniel's lost the locker room. Those guys don't respect him. He doesn't have a culture in Miami. I just think it's a little bit deeper than that.
Yeah.
And it comes down to personnel. That's Chris Greer. It comes down to the standard of the organization since McDaniel's been there and prior, which is ahead of Chris Greer, which is Tom Garfinkel and obviously the man in charge of it all, Stephen Ross. I mean, this is an organization at the end of the day that has allowed mediocrity to be the standard. And until that changes, and I know this is big picture, I realize that, until that changes, how could you expect this franchise to get back to what it was prior to 2000, back to what it was during the Marino era? And it's unfortunate, but that's just the reality. You have a general manager who, I'm not taking anything away from Mike McDaniel. He deserves his share of criticism. There's no doubt about it. But you have a general manager who, look, he's made some good draft picks, but he's the longest tenured. This is a stat going on after Monday. The longest tenured general manager without a playoff win. He's had 2 rebuilds. He's had ample opportunity to field the winner. He's been part of this organization for, 15 plus years already. He's been calling the shots himself. This is year 7, and he has nothing to prove for it. That tells you everything you need to know about what's acceptable within the structure of the organization.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I agree with you. This falls. I thought Greer should have been on a while ago, but this falls on Stephen Ross. Like we've always said, it's the one decision. It's not the quarterback. It's not build the offensive line. It's find the guy to run your organization and make the domino of right decisions. And it's just been a domino of wrong decisions. A lot of the times it's like his drafts are okay, but a lot of the times it's not who he takes. It's who he doesn't take. On surface, Jalen Waddle looks like a decent pick. But yeah, look who else was in that draft. Penny Sewell. Was Micah Parsons in that draft? You could have had Devontae Smith and pick 12 and trade up to 10. It's Austin Jackson. The list goes on and on. Like even Tua going to the 2020 draft, that looks like a failure every day that goes by.
Yeah, and I think
not even Tua, just Austin Jackson.
Right. No, for sure. Noah Benogany. You could probably do that with any organization. It's why I don't like the Tua Herbert thing. That look, they're going to be tied together forever. Period. End of story. So it is what it is. You could probably do that with every organization, right? Like go back to every single draft, even the Eagles. I'm sure there's instances where like, hey, they didn't pick the right guy, but look, it's paid off for them. I just think that there's context to all of this. Somebody, I'm looking at our chat here, says McDaniel's put in a bad situation. He never should have been hired. He was hired by Greer to prove flow wrong. And look, maybe there's a sense of truth to that. I don't think it tells the whole picture, though. But Brian Flores was what? Somebody who was hard to work with, hard to deal with, and he wasn't like a soldier, right? Stephen Ross wanted to go have this meeting with Brady, and he was just like, no, I won't do that. Like, I'm upholding the integrity of the game, and which is interesting, but whatever. So he wanted to go find a loyal soldier in Mike McDaniel, and they wanted to fix their investment in Tua Tagovailoa, the guy that they selected 5th overall. And you can't take away this one fact. He did. He got more out of Tua Tagovailoa, Mike McDaniel, than any other coach that the Dolphins, or I'm sorry, than Brian Flores did, right? Than anybody that the Dolphins had prior to that. So he accomplished that. The problem is now you had to build the proper team around him. You have a quarterback who needs to be protected, and you didn't invest resources or the proper amount of resources in protecting him. And Mike McDaniel hasn't proven that, okay, he was able to take Tua from point A to point B. Great. But then what? What's your next trick? What's your next move? And that's where he suffered. It seems like he was a one-trick pony. Teams have figured him out, and there's no ability to adjust from Mike McDaniel. And I think that's where, you're sitting right now, which is last year Tua goes down in the 4-game sample size without Tua Tagovailoa. I get it, man. Skylar Thompson, Tim Boyle, and Snoop Huntley aren't great, but your job as an NFL head coach is to adjust, to find ways to maximize the guys you have on the field, put them in the best positions to win. He didn't do that. Incapable of doing it week after week after week. And you go into week 1, Tua overthrown. You're down 3-0. Your second drive offensively didn't come to the end of the first quarter, start of the second quarter. Like, things hadn't unraveled yet. That has to be where you say, okay, let's go. This has to be the drive where we go get points, or at the very least put ourselves in a good position. And they're not able to do that. He allows things to snowball rather than getting back to either what works for you or what's plan B. And there is no plan B.
Well said. We got a question here in the chat. Jason, where's that question? Yeah. There it is. Solana, how do you feel about the comment said by Tua that he wants to see who's going to be in the film room on Tuesday? Oh, that one irked me. Okay, I got a question.
That was annoying.
Who's checking on Tua to see if he's going to be doing it on the film room? Jason, I know that probably got in your school. We'll start with you, Jason, and Alex. Go ahead, Alex, go ahead first.
No, I want Alex to go on this. Yeah, the question was for him. Let's hear him.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I'm sick of that stuff. I saw Tua today say that he doesn't pay attention to the media stuff. Look, that's fine. That's fine. I get it, right? I know that's a very common thing. And we're at the point now where we're just annoyed. So anything these guys say is just going to annoy us. I get that. So I don't like to pick apart like specific quotes because whatever. But I do remember Tua Tagovailoa showing up to camp in 2023 and being asked about the comments Ryan Clark made. And he seemed to have a pretty good, detailed idea of what Ryan Clark said about him, his lack of being in shape. And like the idea that this guy just literally is disconnected, not plugged in completely is just ridiculous. And I hate when athletes, not just Tua, anybody tries to pretend like they're not, right? Like it just drives me nuts because it's just not true. Like we're all living in this world where things are happening and everything revolves around social media, especially living in that world. But as far as those comments, it was weird. You had the worst game you've had maybe in your career. Just be accountable for that. That's it. I think that's a fair ask. It's what I wanted to hear from Mike McDaniel, which he didn't give us. He kind of spoke around what happened and like there was nothing you could take away from his post-game press conference or even Monday where you're kind of like, all right, he inspired confidence that he'll turn things around. It was just it was bleak and it was mundane and it was McDaniel just talking in circles. And I thought the same thing from Tua. He should have stepped up. He should have said, hey, simple as this. I had the worst game I've had in a while and things have to turn around and it starts with me. But instead, he's talking about let's see who's in the film room on Tuesday. And are those guys still there when I'm there? And like, for what? For like, what are you calling out your teammates for? Nobody was good.
I agree wholeheartedly. And I said this on a couple of shows ago, and I'm sure you remember a guy like Dan Marino used to always say, give credit, take blame. He could hit a receiver in the hands. They could drop it. Marino used to say, yeah, I could have thrown a better ball. And people would actually say, no, Danny, it wasn't your fault. But he took accountability no matter what because he's the quarterback, almost like the CEO of the team. If you're a CEO of the business and you're not in the black, you're in the red, some way, shape, or form, it's kind of your fault. Or the guy that you're hiring or the sales team you're hiring, you know what I mean? So I would have loved to see Tua simply say, yeah, I stunk the place up today. I stunk up. So what I have to do is come back strong, regardless of who's in the room watching the tape. Everybody could be watching the tape, but I still played shitty. Pardon my French.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. I think, too, it goes back to even the Omar Kelly question when he didn't – Tua, one thing I realized, and I'm realizing more, is he lacks self-awareness, Tua. He's like the kid who tries to be funny and says the awkward thing, but he doesn't get the room, right? He was not aware or was offended that he threw it in bunches. The notion that he doesn't hear anything and how sensitive he's been, and this whole team is astronomically false. It's obvious he hears things. If not, Ann tells him the PR when he walks in the door. They know what's going on, right? They know, and I agree with both of you. He's the leader. This is his team. More than McDaniel, more than anybody. This is Tua Tagovailoa's team. They're going to go down the ship with Tua, not McDaniel or Griff, with Tua. I wanted him to stand up, hold accountability for it, not make excuses about why they didn't do this or why they didn't do that. I played bad. It's on me. Not who's watching, who's going to film on their off day. Somebody needs to watch him. Who's holding Tua accountable in that building? Does anybody? I don't know if you know, Solana, does anybody ask? Like, I feel like Tua kind of gets away with everything. Is you kind of guys? Do you guys get that sense?
Yeah, I don't know if I get the sense that he gets away with everything, but this is something that has driven our show nuts for a while. It's the way Tua is almost coddled by not just in Miami, not just within the organization, but like the national media as well. Where last year he goes down with that concussion, guys. Not to rehash an old debate here, but I think we're all in agreement. Those concussions are scary. Nobody wants to see Tua on the ground in that state. There's no doubt. It's a frightening sight. But Tua, I believe, had you put him to a lie detector, would have told you, hey, I'm ready to go the following week or 2 weeks after that. Like, I only need a week down. But because of this shocking nature and because of the reaction where people are like, he shouldn't play anymore, and the Dolphins are killing his career and the Dolphins are killing his livelihood, it's almost like people treat Tua differently than they would treat another NFL player. And maybe it has spiraled a little bit into that building as well. Look, man, like, he's had a tough go at it. There's certain things that, just unlucky with the concussions and some of the injuries, the hip injury, having a head coach in Brian Flores that genuinely just didn't trust him and didn't want to maximize his abilities and was constantly looking for an outlet to having to play Tua. So he's had a rough go at it. Again, I hate doing the thing where we pick apart one answer after a catastrophically bad game because nothing those guys could have said on that podium would have made any of us feel better. But just take accountability. Take accountability, and that's it. Like, don't talk about what other guys need to do on Tuesday. Like, for what, man? Like, get up there and say, I'll be the first one in the building on Tuesday. I'll be the last one in the building on Tuesday. And I hope everybody else follows suit.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree more. Jason? Well,
let's stick with Tua for a second. When you watch, I'm sure you just rewatched a little bit or the whole tape, what have you. Do you think that he's playing worried to get hurt? Do you think there's like a nervousness behind him?
Man, I mean, in that game, it would be a fair way to kind of pick apart what he did and what he didn't do, right? Like, is after the first interception, were there nerves setting in? Was he legitimately like kind of shook a little bit because of the expectations on the game, because of the narratives surrounding him? You were mentioning, the all 22. Look, I don't watch the entire game in all 22. I know I know a lot of people do, but I saw enough clips posted from Tua where there were throws that he has made consistently throughout his career. I'm talking going back to his rookie season, that were available in this game the other day that he was either not looking at, not expecting to be there, or just flat out missed. That one play where he throws to the sideline, and I think he had Malik Washington and Jalen Waddle both wide open running to the sideline. And, I mean, it was one of the worst passes we've seen him throw in a long time. Tua Tagovailoa makes that throw with his eyes closed.
9 out of 10.
He's a spot thrower, right? So what happened there? And maybe it was nerves. I know a lot of people saw the video of him getting tackled and his head hitting the ground.
He was playing bad before that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I think that's just unfair to just assume that every hit he's concussed. So, yeah, to answer your question, Jason, like maybe it's fair, but if you're getting nervous, year 6, right? Year 6,
Yep.
week 1 after 1 interception,
Problem.
that's a big problem, right? That's a big issue.
That's a big problem.
I want to stick onto it here. And by the way, give Indianapolis and Lou Anarumo that defense. They disguised. He didn't know where the pressure was coming from. They disguised their blitzes, and a lot of times they didn't blitz a ton, kind of middle of the league, I think. So they disguised it and they played that soft coverage like they do with everybody. But I want to stick with Tua because I mentioned at the top there were some things. I watched the all 22. There was a few things I noticed on film, especially the lack of downhill passing. But before we do that, I want to give kind of the advanced statistics of the quarterbacks this week with Tua. First, I want to start with air yards, how far passes traveled in the air before they were being caught. Tua was 30th with 70. Okay, and the top guy was Josh Allen, no surprise, 272. Air yards per attempt, that's how far the passes traveled in the air before being caught. He was, I think, the 30th again, averaged 3.0. The top of the league was Josh Allen, no surprise, 5.9. Then you go with 10-plus yard throws, right? You mentioned, I believe, on the top, Solana, when is he going to throw a hit 30-yard plus? Let's start with the 10. 10 yards plus. He was this week 30th in the league with 5. Top guy actually was Drake May with 15, Josh Allen with 14. 20, let's go up, 20 plus. The top guy was Geno Smith at 9, Josh Allen at 7. Tua was number 26, and he had one pass over 20 yards. And then over 30, 0 on the bottom of the league. There's some thing, and obviously no 40s, no 50s. And it wasn't pocket time. His average time in the pocket, 2.2 seconds. The same as Lamar Jackson, the same as Josh Allen, the same as Daniel Jones, the same as Burrow, the same as Jaden Daniels. So, again, I went back. The offensive line didn't do that bad of a job. But what concerns me, and I brought these up because they're not hitting the ball downfield anymore. It's just not happening. And it hasn't happened all last season. The last 15 games, they're 7-8 with Tua. So this notion that the winning record with Tua, last 15 games, 7. Okay? Let's take a look at some of the plays downfield, and this is what concerns me. There was one play, I believe it was on the 6-yard completion, and if you guys have access, the people watching in chat, access of all 22, I suggest I'll try to timestamp it for you. It was around the 12-minute mark in the third quarter. He throws a 6-yard completion to Waddle. I think it was a simple out route or a slant. I don't remember. If he just looks at Waddle, because he's so, I don't know if he does, like you said, Jason, is he worried about getting hurt? Or he doesn't trust the O-line? Or he got jitters? He's so premeditated to get the ball out. If he just looks at Waddle, when he turns his head that way towards Waddle, the safety jumps. Tyreek Hill is streaking down the field. Those are the little things now that Tua has to do in advance with the way teams are playing them. They're not playing them like they're doing the Broncos played them in 2023. Again, every team plays too high, right? That's not a new thing in the league. Next play, he has trips to the left. Guy comes in motion. He has Hill coming across the field, does not take his eyes off Tyreek Hill. Latu drops back in coverage, right? You guys know the play. And I watched it 5 times because I wasn't sure if he saw Latu or not. But it was easy for Latu because his eyes never came off Hill. Interception. He locked up. There's a few things that worried me watching this. Again, credit to Anarumo and the Colts defense. He's locking on the receivers. He's jittery. He's looking to get the ball out too quick. We're not letting things advance. When teams are playing that cloud coverage and playing back on you, you gotta manipulate with your eyes and let things happen in advance to get the ball downfield because it's still there downfield. It's still there. But these two things concern me a lot. His ability, I don't know if he's worried. I don't know if he's worried about getting hurt or doesn't trust the O-line, whatever it is, it's got to be fixed because You guys both know we're playing $30 million on each guy on the outside. They're small. You got to. They got to adjust to this. This is not going to work. Do you guys? I mean, what do you think it is? I'll ask you, Solana. Why is this stuff not happening downfield anymore? It's crazy.
Yeah, well, you mentioned something that was interesting to me. He's staring at Tyreek Hill the entire time, or on that pass to Waddle. Yeah. He's not going through his progressions, right?
Yes. And
I think it was Xavier Howard who was like, yes, we know how Tua operates. Take away his first read and he's done. It was something to that effect. I don't remember like exactly what he said, and that's not the first time we've heard that. Like, hey, get Tua to like lock on to his eyes, know what that first read is, and you've won that play. You've won that possession against him. And it doesn't surprise me because I made the same criticism Mike McDaniel earlier, which was he doesn't have a plan B. When things go wrong, when his game plan isn't working, whenever the scheme he put into practice isn't working, it's been exposed, he doesn't have that plan B. It's something Oronde Gadsden tells us weekly. Like, there's still no plan B. He's harped on that, and I wholeheartedly believe it. And, man, it almost seems like Tua has really taken that from his head coach, where he's fixated. All right, this play, I know I've got Tyreek deep, and that's where I'm throwing the ball. This play, I've got Waddle on the hitch. That's where I'm throwing the ball. But I think the fact that hip injury may still be giving him some problems now as he's gotten a little bit older. Obviously, the trauma of the concussions and not wanting to get hit and maybe like everything he's being told, which is stay in the pocket, don't get out of the pocket, don't run the football, you can't risk getting hurt, go down. And it's just all those things at play kind of clouding his ability to go out there and just freely play quarterback. We saw it, man. That game, week 1 against the Chargers, was that 2022 where it was just back and forth. He led that game-winning drive where he's able to step up, avoid pressure, and almost like unbalanced on the run, hit Tyreek Hill over the top for one of those exciting 30-yard plays. Tyreek catches it, and then you win the game on a back shoulder fade to Tyreek Hill. You go watch that game. That's a different guy than you're watching play football right now. You mentioned the stats, 6-9 in their last 14 games or whatever it is, 15 games.
7-8, yeah. 17,
yeah,
7-8 last 15.
Obviously, I can't do math.
Yeah.
But
I'm
you
not
mentioned
great
that
at
stat. Man, go watch those games with Tua. It's a different guy. It should flat out. It's a different guy. And we can have the argument, even when it was at his peak and he was playing great, is he good enough to go win you a Super Bowl? The Dolphins, we know their record against playoff teams. Like, that's a different argument. I'm just talking about a healthy Tua Tagovailoa 2 seasons ago, at the very least, was going to put you in a position to score points, at the very least. And again, I don't know if it's mostly Tua, if it's McDaniel, if it's just that they've been found out. He got, and there's no other option. I think it's probably a mixture of everything, but it leads to a game where you come out in the second half, you get the ball, and you literally can't move the football. What does that say? 41 yards of offense to start the season. What does that say? Something
those first half stats. I know Jason's going to ask us something similar, but I will say this. Your point exactly. We talk baseball analogy, Jason, right? Always on this show. They figured out the 97 fastball. Mike McDaniel can't come up with a curve, slider, changeup, knuckleball, nothing. Right. He looks lost. Like, he's like, dude, they figured me out. I'm not capable of kind of figuring this whole thing out. But I know, Jason, you want to ask something similar to that question on McDaniel.
In 2023, that was the outlier of Tua. This is the 6th year. He had 1 year that was a full year, and he was fantastic. But now, going to last year, people started figuring him out. Of course, the injuries happened. Has McDaniel been completely figured out, or is this just a failure of execution on the players' side of things?
Yeah, it's probably both, man. I know we like to put things in a box, and it's not the clickbait answer, because it'd be very simple to come up here and just say McDaniel's lost it, nobody respects him anymore, and he was never a good coach, he was never a run guru. But I don't know, man. Like, I don't buy into that notion. I think it's a little bit of everything. He didn't have his guys ready to execute. He didn't have his guys. The game plan that they were going into probably wasn't good enough. They didn't execute whatever game plan it was that they were going to execute. They didn't adjust. when they got smacked in the mouth. And then on top of it all, your starting quarterback had his worst game ever. All that stuff mounted together. And then you're looking across the league, and here comes Jalen Ramsey making a game-winning play to seal the Jets' victory. Noah Fant, who you didn't want to sign, guess what? He's catching touchdown passes with his new team, the Cincinnati Bengals. Your starting tight end, who was listed as tight end number 1, is inactive. Your right guard that you signed, this is what upset me more than anything. Your right guard that you signed was out in 5 plays, going to miss an extended period of time. Your starting cornerback, which was just a Band-Aid on a clearly massive wound, was out, carted off the field. You're seeing the video of him. And Tua Tagovailoa can't complete a pass. It was just everything. Everything that could have gone wrong. Absolutely everything that could have gone wrong went wrong for the Miami Dolphins. Hunter Long caught a touchdown pass, guys. Hunter effing Long caught a touchdown pass. What?
God.
What?
Who do we not take? We took who's the center for the Broncos in that draft we didn't take? He was in the Senior Bowl.
From the Whitewater, from the Division III.
Yeah. Somebody in the chat. I know
Mertz, something like that.
Quinn Mertz.
Yeah.
We took Hunter Long. And you mentioned the tight end. Those comments today, I know we're going off script here a little bit, but like those comments from McDaniel today, I wanted to bang my head in the wall. Like, you want to talk about panic button? I wanted to take the panic button and smash it over my head. Like, we don't know. What was his? I'm going to read his exact quote because I almost couldn't believe it. I think I have it somewhere here. The Waller. Where is it? Let's talk about it. Where is the comment? I expect to not know what to expect until later in this week. We may get to a point where we realize the risk is too great for the rest of the season, and we'll have to do what's best for the team. This is just so Dolphins, right? And it's not the fact, if you don't want to pay you mentioned Jonnu Smith. If you don't want to pay Jonnu Smith, that's fine. But you said you could have had Noah Fant for 2.7. You could have drafted a tight end. You could have traded for a tight end. You went with a 33-year-old rapper who hasn't played football in a long time, selling us that he's going to be ready week 1. If anybody had half a brain, they knew this guy wasn't going to be ready. Solana, I mean, how irked when you saw those comments?
Yeah, look, the Darren Waller thing, to me, there's a long list of Greer misses when it comes to signing veterans, right? Signing veterans. This one might take the cake. And look, Odell Beckham, the whole thing was a circus, and we were all like, when are they going to sign OBJ? And wow, OBJ is your 3rd wide receiver. Okay, that makes sense. And clearly the guy just wasn't ready to play football. And you know, the contract shouldn't have been as large as it was. I think it was one of those cases where you get duped by the star power. McDaniel loves coaching star players, right? He's kind of been like the star whisperer at one point. So I understand that one, but this one to me was a case of 2 things. Bad timing by the Dolphins. They trade Jonnu, and then, less than 24 hours later, they're signing Darren Waller. Perhaps we all made the leap and the assumption, hey, he's replacing Jonnu Smith. Clearly that wasn't the case, but he's still your highest paid tight end, and he's still listed as tight end number 1 on the depth chart going into the season. The fact that this guy, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, it feels like might not suit up at all this season is insane. Absolutely insane. How in the world could that have been your answer at tight end? And if it wasn't, then Julian Hill being your answer might even be worse. At the very least, Darren Waller's a track record. Julian Hill's only track record is literally pre-snap penalties and holding calls at the absolute worst time of the season. Finally caught a pass.
And now a 2-point conversion.
He finally caught a damn pass in the end zone, and it was only a 2-point conversion. He'll get that touchdown at some point.
And we had to see his pants fall down. That's the most memorable. Julian Hill.
Just absolutely insane with the Darren Waller stuff. And then the whole time they're telling us, well, we want to slow play him back in training camp. Like, oh, okay, I guess that makes sense. And then going into the last week, McDaniel said something along the lines of, yeah, we don't want to put him out there. His first reps be in a joint practice or in that preseason game and I'm thinking to myself, so what's the alternative? First reps week 1 against the Colts? He hasn't caught a pass. He hasn't caught a pass in pads from Tua Tagovailoa yet. And the guy you're replacing, the most productive tight end in a long time for the Dolphins, and literally your most productive offensive player last year catching passes, the guy you've chosen to replace him isn't going to suit up in pads to get actual contact one time in preseason. It was so obvious he was never going to be ready for the start of the season. And guys, I'm not kidding. I would not be surprised. The way Mike McDaniel sounded today, like Darren Waller does not play a snap this season.
Yeah, I agree.
Does not play a snap. Certainly won't play meaningful snaps. I could tell you that with the way we look Sunday.
How does it go from he's going to be ready to a week later he's done? He might not play. It's this is the stuff that goes on in the building. I'll never understand. And you're coming off the OBJ experience last year. Right. I don't know. Jason, you have anything out of the tight end in the Waller situation?
Well, the tight end situation specifically, and this is historical, a problem for Greer. When they have a glaring need and he has the utmost ability to rectify the need, he doesn't do it in such horrible fashion. And go back to that 2020 draft. I know I'm moving off the tight end position, but this particular draft, you could have chosen Tyler Warren or Colson Loveland. I'm not saying I didn't like the Kenneth Grant pick, but you could have checked the box off if you thought that the Jonnu Smith relationship was going to go south. In 2020, they were coming off of a year with, if you look at the top two wide receivers, it was Devontae Parker and Jakeem Grant. And now you draft Tua with the 5th round. You literally could have given him Justin Jefferson. You literally then later in the round or somewhat could have gotten Jonathan Taylor. You could have made a triplets scenario with your 3 draft picks. The quarterback situation in this draft, you pass on my boy George's guy, Will Johnson, because everyone's scared of his injury. He looked like Deion Sanders week 1. But you decide to come on out, and Greer says, we like a lot of cornerbacks later in the draft.
I do, yeah. I do like – I was a
the
fan
offensive line stuff, too. It's like –
Putting my draft board aside, I still do like how they went physical in the first 2 rounds. I think it's early, and a Tyler Warren's always going to look better statistically. But yeah, I had Will Johnson, Solana at number 5 on the board. I didn't waver, and damn, I hate to be right on that one. Anyway, so let me ask you this: a yes or no answer. Do you, in your heart of hearts, do you think McDaniel's losing this team? Do you think he's losing this team?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to argue against it. You know, I wish I could. I had a good argument against him losing the team. I don't. But yeah, I think he is. If that's the effort you get week 1, again, it's just hard to. I don't know if either of you have an argument against it, but I think so, man. I think the guys like him. Genuinely, I think he's a good dude outside of football. I hate that this is, the nature of the business where people end up just getting absolutely torched day in and day out because of wins and losses, but it's just the reality of the business. Yeah, I think he has. I don't think guys want to rally around for him. I don't. And hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully Sunday we feel a lot different. We recorded this podcast next week. Hopefully I feel a lot different about the team right now.
And it's possible. And it's totally possible. But I just think this has been too many things. This is kind of, you've seen it coming, though. That's why it makes me a little more nervous. Do you have any argument, Jason, are that they're not losing, or you're in agreement? Are we all 3 in agreement? This locker room just doesn't – I think you said it best. They like him. Of course, they want to show up to work. It's a country club. But they just don't respect or fear him, or he doesn't generate any fear in them. And he's just not a leader of men, Jason.
Well, the way you phrased the question was, is he losing the locker room? And I will say that he has already lost the locker room. And I thought that he was losing it last year. Solana, you mentioned the comments with Bradley Chubb, saying without even playing, players were losing respect for him. I don't know how you can have the respect for him, or if he still has this locker room under his iron fist, because it was never an iron fist. It was a velvet, whatever you want to call it. It was nothing. So I will just go on and ask you, do you think an immediate coaching change is around the corner?
I don't think so. I refuse to believe that this is that, like, the wheels are just completely going to fall off. If it happens, I know a lot of Dolphins fans expect it to. I don't think it's going to get to this point. I really don't. Guys, there's still – I stand by my take at the start of the season. Like, this to me is still a 7-8, 9-win football team. One really bad loss makes me hesitate to stick to my guns there, but I still believe, if they get blown out by New England, then, hey, man, everything's on the table. But, guys, we did a whole hour on this today. I don't know how Stephen Ross would react to this team starting 0-3, 1-7.
I'm glad you got that question.
How
we got
right? Like how I don't know. Genuinely, I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know what he's feeling. Would he fire Greer? If they do fire McDaniel, do you just fire them at once? If the wheels really, I'm talking about like this turns into ugly 1-7, 1-8. I don't know, because I don't think they survive. I think obviously inevitably they would lose their jobs. But what's the point? What's the point of firing these guys at that in that moment? Is it just to send the message? Maybe. Do you get that jolt of like interim head coach Anthony Weaver coming in? Yeah, I mean, you see that across the NFL sometimes too. But what do you gain from it? I don't know. Like, do you not let Chris Greer continue to call shots? I guess, but you're gonna let an interim guy do it? I have no idea what it looks like. I'd be fascinated to see it. Obviously, at a 1-2, but it would be fascinating to see what Stephen Ross does. And guys, a question that was posed to us today by Hawk. This guy's entire organization is a laughing stock of the league. You have Rex Ryan calling his coach Nerd Boy. You've got every ESPN analyst focusing on how bad the Miami Dolphins were. Every major publication has written articles about how absolute garbage their season opener was. I mean, they're the laughing stock of the league. Mike Florio's running victory laps because he had him at 29th on the power rankings, and now he finally gets to drop him at 32 after he went on the Joe Rose show and said somebody's got to be the worst team. That guy's going to be in just full-on troll mode on Friday when he joins Joe for his weekly appearance. At what point does Stephen Ross not say, hey, like, this is my organization that's become the laughingstock of the NFL? Like, what's his reaction going to be to that? I'm fascinated by that because he's been somebody who stayed back. He's hands off. He hires the guys. They make the calls until he turns on SportsCenter one day and people are literally calling his head coach Nerd Boy. Then what?
Yeah. And shout out to everybody in the chat. We got over 120 people in here. Everybody in the chat, thank you guys. Make sure you hit that little thumbs up. And we got Alejandro Solana from WQAM, the Hot Crowder and Solana Show. We're dissecting this. Should we hit the panic button? Looks like you guys in the chat and us are definitely hitting it, the button. And yeah, I couldn't agree with your comments more. It's and somebody brought it up in the chat. Ross didn't look happy in the locker room. I watched after the game. I couldn't tell who lost the game. It was all both smiling. It's just, and Ross didn't look happy after the loss apparently either. So I don't know. Go ahead, Jason.
No, let's touch a little bit more on the Rex Ryan comments. This was a weird week in the media world with football players, non-players, coaches who used to be in the NFL. I mean, were those comments completely uncalled for? Rex Ryan's?
Yeah, I guess, man. Like, I didn't take them as, I know a lot of people were outraged by it, and that's fair. Like, listen, you could think, taking cheap shots like that are fine, but I mean, Rex Ryan has been in that position several times. I mean, this guy for years got made fun of because he has a foot fetish, and nobody held back on making jokes about his foot fetish. So I know there's some saltiness.
Here's a joke. He put a foot in his mouth. Yeah.
I mean, I know there's some saltiness with Rex Ryan because he feels like he should still be coaching in the NFL. I get that, bro. And it was personal a little bit. I don't know. Like, it's Rex Ryan. Like,
so it was unprofessional. I'll give him that. But I expect nothing less than Rex.
I guess. But I just don't get outraged at, honestly.
Yeah, either do I.
Everybody has their reason to be upset. I'm not telling you, like, you have to feel the way I do. I don't know. I mean, like, he's on a show. Those guys are all shock jocks on ESPN, and he knows football. Like, I'm not saying he doesn't, but look, I mean, their job is to be shock jocks. Those people are good at it, and maybe got a little too personal, maybe. But hey, I mean, that's what happens when you get absolutely dismantled. People have their eye on you, and people are going to say things that they don't that you're not going to like.
Yeah. But if you had a bet right now, is this season, do the Dolphins rally, get back on track, or are we watching the season unravel already here? I mean,
no. I'll stick to what I told you guys about a minute ago. I still believe, Tua, if Tua's healthy and you have your guys, your weapons, you have to find a way to put points on the board. You have to. And I still think Devon Achane is a great talent. Obviously, Tyreek Hill is a great talent. And one thing, look, Tyreek off the field, I mean, we all saw the TMZ report the other day. This dude's not a good dude, all right? So I don't want people to get confused with what I'm saying here. But he clearly still cares. I think he's upset. He wasn't named team captain. And you saw it, end of the first quarter or end of the first half. He's showing that frustration on the bench. I mean, it would have been very easy for him to kind of just kick up his feet and say, oh, well, like, I'm just counting the days till I'm a Chief, or I'm counting the days till I'm a Steeler. Clearly cares. He wants to win. He's being competitive, and he also cares about himself, his stats. He wants another payday. He doesn't want people to think he's washed. So he cares. Like, this team, I don't think has quit. They're back at home. The best remedy for a disaster to start the season is get back at home against a division rival. You win that game. Guys, we're going to feel so different. I don't think this is – I know people are saying they're tanking. That doesn't make any sense to me. No. I don't think they're purposely trying to lose games. It literally does not make sense. And I genuinely believe that they're at the very least, just talent-wise, a 5 to 7 win team. Oh. If they can't get to 5 or 7 wins, then,
especially right. I think I know we're going to touch on the Patriots here, but I think this game is very crucial for McDaniel because they got Buffalo next. I'll leave it at that. We'll ask that.
Oh, for sure. No, they're not beating. Hey, Jason, they're not beating Buffalo, right, on the road Thursday night.
If they beat Buffalo, my guy Joe Robbie from the Dive Bar sung the Colts song. I'll sing an entire playbook from a Broadway musical if we beat Buffalo. All right, so shout out to Joe for doing that.
That's why it's especially important this game. For McDaniel, he's got to get this Pats game.
It's a must-win. And the things that scare me, and I love my stats. I love going into the historical probabilities. I know some things from 20 years ago aren't relevant to teams now. The last time the Dolphins, and they have a chance to rattle off their 5th straight win against the Patriots. The last time this organization has beaten New England 5 straight times was the good old years of 1999 to 2001. Now, 2001 also famously the last time the Dolphins won a playoff game. So, to me, there's a lot of irkiness or worry about them getting that 5th straight win, especially with Vrabel, who has the Dolphins number as a player and a coach. You got a guy like Drake May who does dual threat with his legs and his arm. Dolphins have always had problems. Look what Daniel Jones did. He's not even a dual threat kind of guy. He just can move a little bit. I'm terrified of Drake May, believe that or not. And Stephon Diggs, have you looked at his career against the Dolphins? He's phenomenal against the Dolphins. So, that's pretty much where I stand. Where do you think Tua's never beat heading on Sunday?
Tua's never beat. Yeah. Tua's never beat Ray.
Right.
Here's what I find fascinating. You know how we go through the schedule? We're doing this right now. Yeah. Oh, well, the New England game's a winnable game, right? New England. That's what they're doing to us, right? Like exactly the New England fans. There's a podcast. There's a podcast right now up in Boston. And they're all throwing down lobster hoagies or whatever the hell they're called. And they're saying, oh, all right, well, we're going to beat them. The Dolphins stink. We're going to go in there. We're going to beat the Dolphins. And then, we'll focus on whoever. So, yeah, I go back to what I told you guys at the very beginning. I think the Dolphins are an okay, mediocre, good team, right? Like they're in that realm. Nothing's guaranteed when that's who you are as a football team. I do think they match up well against this Patriots team. I still think Tua's the better quarterback right now over Drake May, no matter what Ben Volen says. And I still, and I still think that, as I told you, Mike McDaniel hasn't completely lost his locker room. So, yeah, I mean, they should be able to beat New England. They're favorites against New England for a reason as well, guys. So it's possible. 1-1 is very, very possible. Is it probable? I don't know about that, but it's still very, very possible.
I got a question. If they go 0-3, does McDaniel make it to game 4? Both you guys can. I'll answer it too.
Yeah.
Does McDaniel make it the game for Solana?
I think he does. I don't think you fire him until closer to the bye week. But if they're 0-3 and they don't turn it around and rattle off 7 or 8 straight wins, I mean, I think inevitably these guys are all getting canned at the end of the season, unfortunately. But yeah, I think he does, man. I don't think you just jump ship in the middle. Like I don't like what Anthony Weaver saving your season as head coach. I don't buy it.
You have a prediction for the game score. This is probably your first prediction of the week, or it's early. We'll give you time to change, but you have a prediction.
Man, it's tough, man. I want to say Dolphins. My fandom, my bias keeps me from ever giving the Patriots the upper nod, especially in Miami. Yeah, I think the Dolphins can pull this one out, man. I really do. 20-17. 19-16. I'll stick with that, like a 3-point win for the Miami Dolphins. Is that my bias showing? Is that my Dolphins fandom showing? I don't think they're gonna get rocked. I'm not at rock bottom yet, guys. Honestly, yeah. I'm not there yet.
I'm not there yet, but I'm predicting that I will be there rather soon. And I think that this game is gonna get me to the gravel very, very quickly. I think they are going to lose the game. I'm referencing the things I said earlier about just the people that they're playing against. They have 2 of their offensive linemen likely out because McDaniel even said that he does not think that Austin Jackson's going to play. Storm Duck is out. So you take your weakest link, and now you have to consider moving Jason Marshall, who's the rookie that you put into the slot, who didn't play particularly well, think about moving him to the outside, or you have to elevate someone else to play the outside because Ethan Bonner's hurt, or you have to move down Minka Fitzpatrick to play in the nickel area. So you're putting a hurt Ashton Davis. There is so many. It's like one of those, puzzles where you're moving the boxes and trying to fill in the other ones that you're not going to be able to accomplish because there's going to be a massive hole somewhere else. And I just don't see it. So you know what? If I have to give a score prediction, and this is going to be a typical way for the Dolphins to lose a game, and I hate doing this, Jason Sanders is hurt too. Imagine putting Riley Patterson in position to hit a 51-yard game winner when they're down 2 and him miss it. When Jason Sanders, say what you want about him for missing a couple of kicks here and there, but look it up. The guy has hit 27 straight field goal attempts, the longest active streak in the league, and literally the clutchest kicker the last 3 years in the NFL based on the definition of what a clutch kick is. So if it's 21-19, are you really expecting Riley Patterson to hit a 50-plus winner with the pressure? I hope I'm wrong, but I see a heartbreaking loss coming.
Yeah. I agree wholeheartedly with what you just said, especially about Sanders, but I went on a month's tirade about how losing Jason Sanders wasn't a big deal on my show on QAM. So if Riley Patterson misses a 51-yarder and the Dolphins lose a game, I literally have to take like a month off. Hawk and Crowder won't let me live it down. But I do agree with the analysis, which is that's a tough spot for a replacement kicker to be in 100%.
Yeah, I'm kind of like both of you guys make great points. I'm kind of leaning with you, Solana. I just feel like things are lining up for them to win this game. This doesn't mean everything we said is not true. They could win this game, lose to Buffalo, and then win a couple, then lose 4 in a row. And we're sitting here, and especially with that 3-game, that tough 3-game stretch ends in Madrid. Just because they win them on next Sunday close doesn't mean what we're saying is not true. It's the NFL. Week 1's funky, but we've been over now. We'll get you out of here. I want to end with this. You work with, man, how fun is it working with Hawk and Crowder, man? Talk a little bit about that, man. It's unbelievable, right? I mean, you must be having the time of your life.
Yeah, man. I'm lucky as hell, man. I just, was a kid, born and raised in Miami, genuinely had a dream. My parents were expecting me to be a lawyer because that's what every young Jewish man should aspire to be in a household like that. And I was like, nah, that's not for me. And look, a lot of it is luck, but now I get to go to work every day. Crowder is the funniest dude in the world. Yeah. And Hawk is just he's hilarious, man. Those guys are effing awesome. And I wish we could do like an uncensored show because it'd be even better because these guys like in our group chats are phenomenal. But I see a lot of people in our chat who are saying like this is so negative, and look, it's just the state of things right now for the Dolphins. It's sad, but if you're looking for some comedic relief to kind of get you through the pain, my spiel ends with that's what we provide. Like we're just gonna laugh, rip on each other. It's like the boys just talking shop like this show. Yeah. So it's great, man. I love going into work every day.
That's awesome. And listen, when Crowder was a player, I loved him as a player. But, when the Fish Tank aired and he became a regular on the Fish Tank, that's just they do a great job. Shout out to those boys. They're doing their thing now as well. But I've had such a newfound love and respect for Channing. Can you give me a Crowder-ism or something that's just a funny story? If, you don't have to go too much into the vault.
How long do you have?
45 minutes. 45 minutes.
Here's my I want to give everybody my first, and I think he'll be all right with me telling the story. Here's my first. He tells way worse.
Well, don't blame me if he gets upset.
Here's my first introduction to Channing Crowder. It's like my second year at QAM, and I didn't work their show. I really worked with Joe in the morning and then Alex Dono in the afternoons after Hockey Crowder. Like I had met Crowder. It's not like I didn't know him, but I didn't know him. They didn't really know me either. Probably like my first year and a half at QAM, we had our company Christmas party, and Crowder's there and Hawk is there, and their producer at the time was Eric Falero. And these guys to me are legends. Like I'm young Solana. I just graduated college. I grew up loving Hawk, loving Crowder, Levitard show. George Sedano to me is people that grew up listening to radio. I know a lot of people don't anymore, and that's cool. That's totally cool. But like to me, these guys are legends, and I'm just lucky to be in the building. I'm just busting my ass, putting my head down, saying yes to any opportunity. And after our Christmas party, Crowder was like, all right, y'all, meet you at Tootsie's. I'm like, okay. So hop in Falero's car, and we go to Tootsie's, and he's kind of waiting outside. And I didn't know if I was really allowed to be there or not, but he just dapped me up when I got there. He's like, all right, how many are we? Head count. He walks right up to the bouncer, and he's like, all right, I got 9 with me. All right, follow us, Mr. Crowder. Walks us right to a VIP area in Tootsie's. And that was my first introduction to crowd. All right, yeah, I'm with so-and-so. And I always kind of thought his stories on the air of going partying and whatever was just kind of shtick. Bro, we walked right in and and that place was slammed. It was like a Friday night. VIP table, 10 of us, no problem. Everybody got in. Just like that. Boom. That was my first night going out with work people or whatever. And Crowder hooked everybody up. And then I'll give you a story now. Here's where we're at now, which is he's telling a story the other day on the air about, Christmas presents or whatever. This dude, my first year working on Hawk and Crowder, Hawk would always give me a bonus, thanks for whatever. And Crowder's like, all right, big dog, I got you. He pulls out his wallet. First year working Hawk and Crowder, full year, busting my ass, trying to prove to them, hey, now 6 years later, I'm a part of the show. It's awesome. Pulls out his wallet. He's like, hey, big dog, Merry Christmas. And he hands me an Outback Steakhouse gift card. And I'm like, oh, all right. Somebody must have gifted this to him. He's re-gifting, but whatever. There must be, $100 on this Outback Steakhouse gift card, whatever. So 2 weeks later, I go to Outback Steakhouse. I take my girlfriend at the time, who's not my fiance. There was $2.73 on the Outback Steakhouse gift card. $2.73 left on the Outback Steakhouse gift card.
So he probably had that in his wallet, and he just came up with that.
Had no idea. Just handed me anything in his wallet, and that was the Channing Crowder experience.
We got one last Channing Crowder. Is it? I don't know. Clown Prince asked this, Solana. Is it true? Did Crowder really try to get a stripper for Saban, or is it for Saban's birthday?
You can look that story up. You could look that story up on Google right now, and you will see him explaining the entire story.
Oh, wow.
He's been asked that a million times.
Yeah.
I don't want to ruin the story, but
we're giving Clown Prince some homework.
Yeah. No, and it's not a cop out. I don't want to ruin the story.
Yeah,
Google it, Crowder stripper for Saban. He's been asked that 20 times. He talks about it. I think he even talked to Saban about it. I think there's an interview where they talk each other about it.
That's
too,
probably
so
the best. That's probably the best thing to look up,
bro. Saban loves Crowder. Crowder. Like every time they see each other, it's like daps them up.
It's funny. So these guys like you think are so hardcore. Then when they get in the media, they're actually pretty good. Like even Belichick was good in the media. Like the guys that we think are so tight-lipped, like Manning, right? For example, I couldn't think of Peyton Manning.
No joke though, you guys probably get a sense for this, but like if you put Belichick in front of a microphone, just himself, he'd be awful. He doesn't know how to structure a show. He doesn't know how to properly, get the most out of whatever it is that he's trying to do. He's not. But in the case of Crowder, and he would agree with this. In my case, you put Crowder, who's just this uber exciting, larger than life personality. He walks into the room, he's the best. But you put Crowder in front of a microphone by himself, he would not know what to say. The funniest bit in the history of our show is literally Crowder doing a show with Adam Cooperstein. They're live from the Miami Open. This is about 20 years ago. Yeah, and Adam Cooperstein's late to the show. He's stuck in traffic. It's impossible to get down the causeway to get to Key Biscayne. So Crowder has to start the show alone, and they've got Serena Williams on the line, ready for an interview right at 10 a.m. because it's the only time she's available. And Channing Crowder starts the interview with, "We got Venus Williams on the line. What's up?"
Oh, no.
And we dissect the interview like it's game film. He claps in the middle of it. Why? Venus Williams, it's the wrong Williams sister. And his big question to Venus, who was Serena, was, "What's up?" Like, what type, you know what I mean? But you put Crowder next to Mark Hochman, who is a radio professional, a broadcast professional, who's literally a master and expert at getting people in the right spots to be entertaining. That's the difference, right? Like, and to me, that was Bill Belichick on Inside the NFL. Ryan Clark, think what you want about Ryan Clark. I know he's controversial right now, but the guy's a very good broadcaster, a great orator. He's great at getting people to be entertaining. It's why him and Crowder work as well.
Yeah, I think
that's great stuff right there. I love that.
I guess next time we just come on, we have a whole show on Channing Crowder stories.
Let me know,
that
bro.
might work.
I know, Jason. I think you and I have talked about it. Like, I've flown with the Dolphins before. I've got some stories. Like, you guys, let me know, man. Let me know.
Man.
I'm down to shoot this shit.
We may have to rate it NC-17 or rated R for the podcast, but I'm down, man. I'm down. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but it's very possible that at some point you guys are going to be wanting to talk anything but Dolphins football, like in-game stuff and just stuff about that. So
Tom Prince, that'd be a dream. Next time you bring Crowder and Hawk,
I'll tell you what, let's make a deal. Alex, if you can get Crowder on here, I'll double that Outback Steakhouse gift card for you.
$4.75. Perfect. Book it.
Yeah, maybe it's a full beer on a Wednesday night at 4 o'clock.
Oh, man, that'd be fun. I love it. You guys they do tremendous work, and congratulations, Solana. You've earned it. You've come up. I'm a big sports radio guy. I grew up, Hank and Jim Mandich were the guys I looked up to, and so and then Joe, and obviously you do a fantastic job, and thank you for giving an hour and 14 minutes of your time. I hope you enjoyed it on here. And everybody, the chat was all the great questions. Everybody, we have you covered this year. We're busy. Tomorrow, we're going to cross the sideline. We have Sophie Weller, beat writer for the Patriots, tomorrow, 6 p.m. Jason and I will be getting their perspective on the Dolphins. Then Saturday, we have Countdown to Game Day, myself and Curtis at 10:30 a.m. And then Sunday, obviously, we're live on the post-game show. We got you covered, man. We're busy. But Solana, let everybody know where they can follow you on your way out, man, and find your stuff and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Alex M. Solana on Twitter, X, Instagram. It's all up there. You don't have to follow me if you don't want to, but I genuinely appreciate you guys. I know it's a grind every day to cover this team, push out content, and Sarni, we've met a couple of years ago, and George, it's cool to meet you. I appreciate you guys having me on, and genuinely, whenever you guys want me back, I'm down.
Oh, man. One of the great guys out there, Alex. Thank you so much. Appreciate all you do.
Absolutely.
All right, for Jason, for Solana, for myself, we're out, guys. Fins up. See you next time.
Fins up.